One of the most awesome things about the Raspberry Pi Pico is its ability to act as a human interface device, or HID for short. That means whether you're trying to design a custom keyboard, gamepad, or mouse, the Pico is an awesome option to act as the brain for your device. Today I'll be showing you how we can take advantage of that functionality to connect the Raspberry Pi Pico to an original NES gamepad, and then translate its inputs and outputs into something that your computer can understand. So, if you're ready for this, let's go ahead and jump right to the project. We start off this project by needing a way to connect our controller to our Pico. For that, I'll be sacrificing an NES extension cord. After stripping the wires of their insulation, I next soldered on female jumper wires to each of the cables, making sure to add heat shrink to each of the connections. This way, I'll be able to connect the connectors directly to the Pico without a breadboard, which will make a more compact adapter later on. This will also prevent me from having to solder wires directly to the Pico. From here, I spent time using my multimeter, set to continuity mode, to map out each pin to a wire, and then made note of where each wire was connected in the connector. For standard NES controllers, there's only 5 pins that we care about: power, ground, clock, latch, and data. With the pins identified, I went ahead and connected my adapter to the Pico. Power to 3.3 volts, ground to ground, clock to pin 4, latch to pin 5, and data to pin 6. With the wiring complete, it's time to load on the software that's going to make this work. So the first thing is, for this project, we're going to be using CircuitPython instead of MicroPython. The libraries for human interface devices are just a little bit better in CircuitPython right now, so we're going to go ahead and use that instead. So you'll head over to circuitpython.org/boards/Raspberry Pi Pico, and from there you can download the latest version. Now, don't worry about trying to type that in, I'll include a link in the description below. So go ahead and download that. Then we're going to go ahead and hold down the boot select button on the Pico and plug it in so that we can install our new firmware on it. Then we'll go ahead and drag and drop the UF2 file that we just downloaded onto the Pico, and it'll reboot with CircuitPython running on it. In addition, we're going to download the library files available for CircuitPython, which are at circuitpython.org/libraries. So go ahead and download the 6.x bundle. When the download's done, we'll go ahead and open it. So in the compressed file, we'll then go into the Adafruit CircuitPython bundle, into the lib folder, and then we're looking for Adafruit_HID. And we'll take that entire directory and copy it from the compressed file into the lib folder on your Pico. And that should be all the setup you need. Now we just need to get some code onto it to make it work. Okay, so let's take a second to take a look at what the code actually does. The first thing we do is import all the libraries we're going to need to have this emulate a gamepad or a keyboard. From there, I create a gamepad device. And then I create a collection of button statuses with appropriate names so that you know what you're looking at. So up, down, left, right, select, start, B, and A. I then have a collection that will link those names to the order in which the buttons are brought in. And we also have keyboard button definitions so that we can switch between emulating a gamepad or a keyboard. Then we create our pins for latch, clock, and data. We set their input or output status, data being the only input pin. Then we also create a keyboard object, which will be used to act as a keyboard. So the first step is to set our latch value to true, then wait for the appropriate delay time and turn it back off. And that tells the controller to read the status of all the buttons and prepare to send them to us. When it does this, it also puts the first button on the data line. So in this case, it's button A. So we store that value, and then we start turning the clock value on and off. And each time we turn it on and off, we then read the data line and we get a different button. And then it's just a matter of storing those. I've also added a toggle that allows you to switch between keyboard and gamepad mode by holding select, start, and up at the same time. Then we go through the collection of buttons to check their statuses. If it's in gamepad mode, we just simply press or release buttons, which is mode 2. And if we're in keyboard mode, we build a collection of keyboard buttons that are currently pressed or keyboard buttons that have been released. And then at the end, if it's mode 1, we press the appropriate buttons and release the appropriate buttons. And that's it. And then to test the functionality, we can go ahead and run our code. And then we can open up the control panel for gamepads. And as you can see, we've got up, down, left, right, B, A, select, and start. So all that's left to do is map this to your favorite emulator, and you're ready to play some games. And alternatively, if you're using something like OBS, you can map out macros to the individual keys, and you can use this as sort of a retro stream deck. Okay, so on startup, RetroPie didn't see our controller, but if I unplug and replug the cable, then press a button on the gamepad, it comes up with the Raspberry Pi Pico is being addressed. So then if we just map our controls out, we now have a fully functional NES controller running with our RetroPie setup. So what better to test it with than to go into some original Nintendo games, and I've got a hankering for some Super Mario Brothers. And there you have it. It feels pretty much just like the original because, well, in part it is. It played well enough that I could beat Super Mario Bros. 1 on it, and that's usually the test I do for latency to see how far things are off. So, hopefully you guys will give this a shot on your own. It's a pretty neat way to use an old peripheral on a new device. And of course you can map these out to whatever you want them to be, especially with the keyboard bindings. So, if you end up giving this a shot, let me know in the comments below. If you have suggestions about how I could have made it better, well, let me know that too. If you enjoyed this look at using a Pico as a USB controller, make sure to check out some of my other Pico videos. You're sure to find something you'll enjoy. Alright, well, that's it for this one, but until next time, stay creative.